Welcome back, everyone. Ready to dive into something pretty powerful today? The Law of Accumulation.
Ooh, yeah, this is a good one. We've got two sources that really lay it out in a way that just clicks.
It's amazing how this idea can change your whole approach to, well, everything. Basically, even little efforts, if you keep at them, can lead to huge results.
It's like that snowball effect, right? It just keeps getting bigger.
Exactly. I think we've all had times where we feel like we're spinning our wheels. This deep dive is going to help with that for sure.
Totally. Because both of these sources agree it's not some quick fix. It's about consistency.
Okay, so first things first. What exactly are we talking about? What is this law of accumulation?
At its heart, it's that idea that consistent effort, even small bits, can lead to really big results, like surprisingly big. You know how compound interest works?
Yes, start small and it builds on itself over time, right?
Right. You put in a little bit, and then over time, with consistent contributions, it can grow massively.
So it's not just about working hard, it's working smart. Putting in the effort, but in a way that takes advantage of this compounding effect.
Exactly. One of the sources had this great analogy. Imagine you have a penny, and you double it every single day for a month.
Okay, so first day, 2 pennies, then 4, then 8.
Keep going. By the end of the month, you'd have over $5 million.
Whoa, that's insane. I mean, a penny. It really shows how those little things we do, if we keep doing them, can make a huge difference.
And here's where it gets even cooler. It's not just some abstract theory. It's tied into how our brains actually work. Neuroplasticity.
I've heard of that. Something to do with how our brains change.
Exactly. Our brains literally rewire themselves based on what we do repeatedly. So the more we practice something, work towards a goal.
We're actually changing our brains, making those skills stronger.
You got it. Which means this law, it's always working, whether we realize it or not. Like, if we keep doing positive habits.
Those pathways in our brains get stronger, making it easier to keep doing them. But I guess that also means...
if we keep doing the negative stuff, those get stronger too. Makes you think, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's really about being mindful of what we're choosing to do over and over.
Absolutely. Okay, but how does this actually play out, in real life? Like, are there people who've actually used this law to achieve big things?
Yeah. Good question. I mean,
Yeah.
It sounds great in theory, but...
Yeah, tons of examples. Both sources had some really good ones. And from all kinds of fields, which is cool. Like one talked about Warren Buffett's The Investor.
Yeah, the big one. He's like the poster child for long-term investing.
Exactly. His whole approach is built on this idea of letting those investments compound over time.
Right. He didn't get rich overnight. It was decades of consistent investing.
Which is a good reminder for all of us, even if we're not trying to be billionaires. Even small amounts invested consistently.
Can add up big time.
Yeah.
It's about playing the long game.
Totally. And it's not just money. Another example was Serena Williams, the tennis superstar.
Oh, I love her. It's easy to think she's just naturally talented, but...
Right. But it's years of dedicated practice, constantly pushing herself. That's what got her there.
It's so inspiring. Reminds us that even those small efforts, if we keep at it, can lead to amazing things.
And the sources had even more. Like Stephen King, the horror writer. And Elon Musk, SpaceX, Tesla.
So we've got finance, sports, writing, even groundbreaking innovation. This law really does seem to be everywhere.
Right. It's like this underlying force shaping things whether we see it or not.
And speaking of underlying forces, one of the sources mentioned this concept called Kaizen. Have you heard of that?
Oh, yeah. It's a Japanese philosophy all about continuous improvement. Little by little, rather than big sweeping changes.
So instead of trying to change everything all at once, which can be overwhelming.
Focus on small tweaks consistently, and they add up over time.
Like if you want to get healthier, instead of trying to change your whole diet overnight.
Maybe you start with swapping soda for water, just once a day, then build from there.
Makes those changes feel less daunting, more doable.
And speaking of doing things regularly, did you know one of the sources talked about the power of habit? That book by Charles Duhigg?
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that. It's all about how habits work, right?
Yeah, the habit loop. Like there's a cue that triggers the habit, then the routine itself, and then a reward that makes you want to do it again.
Oh, I see. We all have habits, good and bad. So this is about understanding that cycle.
So we can intentionally make good habits stick instead of letting those bad ones run the show.
I like that. And it's not just some self-help stuff, right?
No, both sources talked about how there's actual science behind this. Neuroscience, behavioral economics, all that good stuff.
So it's not just a nice idea. There's real evidence to back it up. That's reassuring.
Right. It's about understanding how our brains actually work and then using that knowledge to our advantage.
This is fascinating. Okay, so we've got this powerful principle and it's backed by science. But what about manifestation? One of the sources brought that up.
Yeah, good one. So are we saying we can just think our way to success now?
That's what I'm wondering.
It's a bit more than just thinking positive. It's about aligning our actions with what we want, building momentum, both in our minds and in our actions.
So it's like thoughts become things, but only if we actually do something about those thoughts.
Exactly. It's a partnership. Our thoughts and our actions got to work together, and that's where the law of accumulation comes in.
So those small, consistent actions, they're not just building our skills, they're also building our belief in ourselves.
Right. We start acting as if we've already achieved what we want, and those actions reinforce that belief. Okay, but let's get practical. How do we actually use this in our lives?
Yeah, let's talk about that. What are some steps we can take to really harness this power?
You know, the first step is simple but powerful. Start small.
Start small. Wait, but don't we need to think big to achieve big things?
Thinking big is important for the overall vision, but starting small is key for getting that momentum going.
So instead of aiming to run a marathon, you start with a walk around the block, instead of writing a whole book.
Maybe you commit to just 1 page a day. Break those big goals down into smaller, more manageable pieces.
And as you start seeing those little wins, it builds your confidence and you're more likely to keep going.
Exactly. And that brings us to another important step, cultivating a growth mindset.
What's growth mindset?
It's all about seeing challenges and setbacks as opportunities to learn and grow. It's knowing you're going to make mistakes, and that's okay.
So instead of getting discouraged when things go wrong,
We use those moments as valuable feedback, learn from them, adjust, and keep moving forward.
love that. Okay, what else? What other strategies can we use?
This one's key. Prioritize the actions that really move the needle. You know, the 20% of efforts that produce 80% of the results.
Ah, the Pareto principle.
Yeah.
Love that one. So it's about being strategic, not just busy.
Exactly. Focus on those high-impact activities, the ones that will really make a difference in the long run. And to help with that,
Give me a good one.
automate and systematize. Make those positive actions as automatic as possible.
I like the sound of that. What do you mean?
Like, if you want to save money, set up an automatic transfer to your savings account every month.
Ah, so you don't even have to think about it. It just happens.
Right. Or if you want to exercise regularly, schedule those workouts in advance like they're important meetings.
I need to do that. It's like taking the decision-making out of the equation.
Exactly. It removes the need for willpower. But even with all the best systems and strategies,
What's the secret ingredient?
patience. This is a long game.
That's the tough one, especially in today's world where everything's so instant.
I know, right? But it's about trusting the process, being consistent, and knowing that big results take time.
Like planting a seed. You got to nurture it, be patient, and eventually.
It blossoms. And remember, this law is always at work, whether we're aware of it or not.
Every choice we make, every action we take, it's all contributing to the bigger picture of our lives.
Exactly. We have more control than we realize, and the law of accumulation empowers us to use that control intentionally.
This is so powerful. Okay, so before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I'm curious, what really stood out to you from these sources?
What really hit home for me was the emphasis on having that long-term vision. It's not just about those immediate goals, it's about building a legacy.
Ooh, I like that. So it's about thinking bigger than ourselves, the impact we want to have, the mark we want to leave on the world.
Exactly. It's about using the law of accumulation to not just achieve success for ourselves, but to make a positive difference in the world.
That's such a beautiful way to think about it.
Yeah.
So as we move into the next part of our deep dive, I want our listeners to think about this. What do you want to accumulate? What kind of legacy do you want to create?
Such good questions. And remember, it all starts with those small, consistent actions.
Taken with intention, with purpose, and with the belief that you can achieve anything you set your mind to. We'll be back after a quick break to delve even deeper into how to apply this law to our lives, so stay tuned.
Welcome back. We were just getting into how to actually use the law of accumulation, especially through those small, consistent actions.
Those small wins that build up to amazing results. But before we jump into specific strategies, I want to touch on something you mentioned earlier, the connection to manifestation.
Ah, yes. One of the sources really emphasizes that this law isn't just about, like, external achievements. It's tied into our beliefs, how we see ourselves.
So it's not just working hard, it's believing you can actually achieve what you want.
Exactly. One even talks about this idea from Neville Goddard, the law of assumption, embodying the feeling of your desires already being fulfilled.
So more than just visualization, actually feeling the success, acting as if you've already got it.
Precisely. The more you do that, the more it reinforces that belief in your mind. Like every action you take, every step towards it.
Becomes another piece of evidence backing up that belief. It's like those actions aren't just building skills, they're building our confidence too.
Totally. It's not just getting what you want, it's becoming the kind of person who can get those things.
I love that. Okay, so how does that tie into the examples we were talking about? Warren Buffett, Serena Williams, all those folks.
Well, think about Buffett. He didn't just get lucky. He had this unshakable belief in the power of compound interest. And that belief fueled his actions for decades.
So his belief in the principle itself was part of his success. It wasn't just chance.
Exactly. Same goes for Serena Williams. It wasn't just showing up to practice. She had this incredible self-belief, this drive to be the best.
And that belief, mixed with all her hard work, is what led to her achievements.
Right. It's like those small wins fueled by belief create this amazing feedback loop.
The more you believe, the more you do, the more results you get, and that just makes you believe even more.
Exactly. And it shows how the law of accumulation works on multiple levels, inner and outer, aligning our actions with our beliefs and what we want.
This is starting to feel less like a law and more like a superpower.
I like that. It is powerful, but it's not magic. You still got to put in the work, be consistent, and yeah, be patient.
Okay, so it's a powerful force. It can help us reach our goals, even shape who we become. Let's talk practical steps. How do we use this?
Great question. And the first step is surprisingly simple. Start small.
Start small. But isn't it all about thinking big?
Thinking big is important for direction, but starting small gets that momentum going. Remember, consistent, manageable actions, that's what compounds over time.
So instead of aiming for the whole novel, you start with a page a day. Instead of losing 50 pounds.
You focus on healthier choices, one meal at a time. Make those first steps so easy you can't not do them.
And then as you see those small wins adding up, your belief grows. You're more likely to keep going.
Exactly. Which brings us to another step. Embrace a growth mindset.
Growth mindset. Fill me in.
Basically, it's seeing challenges, even setbacks, as chances to learn and get better. It's accepting that you're not perfect, you'll make mistakes.
They're not failures, they're feedback.
Yes. Every obstacle you overcome, every mistake you learn from, makes you stronger, smarter, and ultimately more successful.
Love that. Turning those failures into fuel. Okay, what else can we do?
Another big one. Prioritize the actions that have the biggest impact. Not just being busy, but being strategic.
So finding those 20% of efforts that give you 80% of the results, right?
Bingo! Invest your time and energy in those high-impact activities, like learning new skills. That can have huge ripple effects down the line.
Okay, so we're focusing on the things that really matter. But how do we stay consistent with those things?
Both sources had a great tip for this. Automate and systematize as much as possible.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Break it down for me.
Basically, take the willpower out of the equation. Create systems that support those good actions. Like, if you want to save money.
Automatic transfers to your savings account. I do that. It's amazing.
Exactly. Or if you want to exercise regularly, schedule those workouts like important appointments.
I like it. Make it part of your routine so you don't have to think about it so much.
Exactly. But even with the best systems, there's one more essential ingredient. Patience.
Ah, patience. The hardest one in today's fast-paced world.
I know, right? But this law, it's a long game. It's trusting the process, being consistent, and knowing that big results take time.
It's like planting a seed. You nurture it, but you can't force it to grow overnight.
You got it. And remember, this law, it's always working, whether we realize it or not. Every decision, every action
Contributes to the overall story of our lives.
Exactly. And we have way more control over that story than we think. The law of accumulation helps us use that control to create the life we want.
This is so powerful. Okay, before we wrap up, I'm curious, what really resonated with you from these sources?
You know, what really struck me was the focus on having that long-term vision. It's not just about goals, it's about building a legacy.
Ooh, I like that. Thinking beyond just ourselves, the impact we have on the world, what we leave behind.
Yes, every little thing we do today isn't just for us, it shapes the world around us too.
Wow, that adds a whole new layer of meaning to it. So as we move into the final part of our deep dive, I want everyone listening to consider this. What will you choose to accumulate? What kind of legacy will you create?
Awesome questions. And remember, it all starts with those small, consistent actions done with purpose.
Every step, every effort, it's all adding up to something amazing. We'll be right back to wrap things up and explore even more ways to harness this incredible power. It really is amazing to think about, how our actions, even the little ones, can have such a big impact, not just on our own lives, but like on the world around us.
Yeah, it's like we're all part of this giant thing, and every little bit we do adds to it. It makes you feel connected,
It does. And it reminds us that we're not alone in this. We're all kind of working together, even if we don't realize it. And our actions, they can inspire others too. Like, think about those examples we talked about, Warren Buffett, Serena Williams.
Yeah, they didn't just achieve success for themselves. They're using it to make a difference, like Buffett with his philanthropies, Serena speaking out for equality.
It's so cool to see. It's like success isn't just about money or fame. It's about using what you've got to make things better, leaving something good behind.
And that brings us back to you, listening right now. What small step will you take today to start building that snowball of success? What habit will you cultivate? What good thing will you do? What contribution will you make?
Such good questions to think about. And remember, it doesn't have to be huge. It's those small, consistent things that really add up over time. Showing up every day, ready to grow, believing in yourself and what you can do.
And as you do that, remember, you've got this powerful force working for you. The law of accumulation. Every step, every effort, it's all bringing you closer to your dreams. Trust the process, keep going, and never underestimate the power of those small actions. They can create truly amazing results.
This has been an awesome deep dive. We've talked about the principles, the science behind it, how it plays out in the real world, and how it all ties into manifestation and personal growth.
Yeah.
Success isn't a finish line, it's a journey.
It's been a pleasure exploring this with you. And just remember, this law is always in motion. The choice is ours. Do we use it intentionally, or do we let it work against us?
If you're enjoying our podcast and the insights we share, you'll absolutely love our ebooks crafted to take your manifestation journey to the next level. These ebooks are your ultimate tools to manifest abundance, love, confidence, and prosperity. Whether you're looking to master your self-concept, unlock financial freedom, or design the life of your dreams, we've got you covered. Inside, you'll find step-by-step guides, practical exercises, and bonus tools like printable affirmation cards and daily habits to keep you aligned with your goals. Simple, actionable, and designed to fit into even the busiest lifestyle, these ebooks are your personal roadmap to success and happiness. Take the next step in your manifestation journey. Click the link, explore our ebooks, and start creating the life you deserve today.